Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio Classics, where we listen to some of our older episodes with new introductions. We got a great set this week, because I actually reached out to my Patreon supporters, and I said, hey guys, what is your favorite episode? And I got ones that I don't think I would have picked myself, and they're good ones. They're really good ones. When you've recorded 548 episodes, a lot of stuff gets lost in the shuffle, and a lot of times when I'm scrolling through my files looking for something, trying to do something, I'm like, what in the world is that? I don't remember that title. What in the world? I'll have to look it up. But all of the ones that were picked for this week, right when they just said the title, I was like, oh, I remember that episode, because these ones really do stand out in one way or the other. I was actually given this idea by Mikhail Malone. He was actually the first one. He had recently said, hey, my favorite episode was Terrare. Now, I know I'm mispronouncing that still to this day. He goes, I really like that Terrare too, and I thought about it, and I go, I'm going to let the Patreons pick this week. So, hats off to you, Mikhail. You're the one who started this one off. First off, when you listen to this episode, if you just want to get to the episode, you can skip past all this. This is what I feel is a perfect Dead Rabbit Radio episode. Within the course of about 30 minutes, we cover 3 topics in depth. A lot of times people go, hey, how come the show's not longer? How come you don't delve into a story more often? It's because of episodes like this. Like, I could have easily taken any one of these topics and talked about it for an hour straight, but I feel like you'd be dragging it on. The first story about the Indian temple to this day intrigues me. Like, it's one of those stories. I didn't know it was on this episode till I re-listened to it, but I think it probably could have been the headliner episode if I had thought about it. Like, the story in the Indian temple is so bizarre. Generally, I start off with smaller stories. I usually call them starter stories, and then we have the title story at the end. The Indian temple stands on its own as being a completely bizarre story, and to this day, I still think about it, and I'm like, I wonder if they've ever opened that door. Really, really weird topic, and it stuck with me through 548 episodes. The second story is about the Ebola outbreak in Africa, which it's funny because listening back to it, I'm like, I don't know, might be a bunch of zombies running around by summertime. That didn't happen. But instead we got COVID-19. It was like zombies, but we couldn't move. We had to stay in our houses. It was reverse zombies. They were in your house, and you couldn't get into other people's houses. A very, very interesting story. And of course, the Terrare story. I love this story. And again, I don't want to keep patting myself too much on the back, but you get all the information you need in the, however long it is, 15 minutes long. You can go out and do more research on this guy, and you'd probably find like couple other weird things, but I was able to boil the bones of Terrare into a delicious pus-filled soup for us. It's an episode that I've thought about, again, where it's 400 episodes later. I still think this is a standout episode. I hope you guys enjoy it. I consider it the blueprint for what I enjoy a good Dead Rabbit Radio episode to be. A lot of times nowadays there are 2 stories per episode. Sometimes there's 3. And I'm shocked when I listen to these old episodes and there's like 3 stories in them. I'm like, whoa, I must have been able to compact stuff more. I don't know if I was better at compacting stuff in or if I let stories breathe a little more. I don't know what the balance is. Sometimes I'll do 3 stories, but enough with the nerd talk, enough with the behind the scenes talk. Guys, I really hope you enjoy this episode of Dead Rabbit Radio Classics, episode 120, Terrare, the man who ate everything. A temple in India holds riches and curses. Then are we on the cusp of a modern day zombie outbreak? Seriously. You guys are like, nothing serious, but no, it's an interesting one. And then we find a man who can eat anything. Yes, anything. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. I hope you're having a great day too. This is take 4 spend the past hour here doing different takes. It's driving me nuts. Mondays are actually really hard to do because I've been out of practice for a while and I'm like, grrr. But so goes the world of podcasting. There is a guy on YouTube, not a YouTuber as far as I know, but they're one of my listeners on YouTube. I love you to death, dude. Hey, you suggested that I do a story and I thought, oh yeah, that'd be an interesting one because I had a vague knowledge of it. But Pawn Raw, I know I've seen you pop up on a couple different videos. I've seen you commenting on a few of my podcast videos on YouTube. And I know you listen to the show. So when you suggested this story, you knew the torment you were about to unleash on my audience. Because I have a hard time pronouncing cities in America. And Pawn Raw suggested a story that takes place in India. Now, the story is the Padmanabhaswamy Temple. Okay, I'm not even going to try that one again. The temple. And it is this Pawn Raw, really, I love you, and thanks so much for listening, thanks so much for the suggestion. But there's this temple in India that there was always this legend that it was full of treasure. This is going to be a fairly short story. But there was always this rumor that there was this treasure in this temple. And back in, but back in 2011, the government said, you know what, let's go through and find out actually what's in this temple. We should catalog it, because it's been there since like 3 AD. And they're like, hey, you finally getting around to it, right? Let's do this. While they were snooping around the temple, they found 6 hidden doors that they never knew was there. And we'll get into that in a second, because that's an interesting thing. You find these 6 hidden doors, and they basically label them A through F. Now, I don't think they used the English letters, but it was basically just like, this is door A, this is door B, so C, so on, but in Indian letters. And so they start opening the doors, and they find amazing riches. Gold, ancient gold coins, diamonds, gems, diamond necklaces encased in gold with gems. I don't know, just these amazing artifacts. And they're like, oh my God, we're rich. I mean, we're the government, so we're rich anyways, but we have this untold, unheard of fortune just laying in this temple. And they're opening the doors and they're like, oh, doo-doo-doo-doo, like just these sparkly gold nuggets hanging out. The gold coins are winking at them and a little thumbs up, finally finding them. But door B can't be opened. Door B is sealed shut. Now, they were all technically sealed shut and they were all hidden, but door B is impenetrable. And they've tried opening it several times. You know, like, I've jiggle the knob, whatever. They've tried seeing what's behind door B. But the problem is that door B has a legend behind it. Now, back in the 1930s, that region, they're having like a starvation issue. Which, I mean, I guess is just starvation. That's the issue. They didn't have enough food. Now, this is what I thought was weird, because in 2011, they said, let's go see what's in this temple. But in the 1930s, they go, hey, we're pretty sure there's a bunch of winking gold coins in that temple. Let's go in there. And for whatever reason, the first door they tried to open was door B. And, sorry, that didn't happen in 1930. That happened 100 years ago. So in 1900, the region was, something else happened in 1930. So in about 1900, the region's super poor and they're starving and everything like that. They go to open door B and they hear a curious sound on the other side of door B. A sound you shouldn't hear on this other side of any door in existence. That's the sound of the ocean. And they're like, let's not open this. Let's not go here. And they thought this door must lead to the Arabian Ocean, which actually I figured would be closer to Saudi Arabia, but apparently it's also close to India. They have big coastlines, but anyway, so they didn't. And then just a bunch of people starved. I don't know why they didn't try the other doors. Maybe they didn't know the other doors were there because they were so well hidden. In the 1930s, some burglars were like, hey, dude, sometimes when I'm walking by that temple, I hear the sound of coins winking at me. So they tried to open door B, and a bunch of snakes jump out of the door and chase them off. Noxious snakes is the term. So a smelly snake. Or unless the word means something else that I don't know of. To this day, that door has never been opened. Door B has never been opened. And the legend is that only a cleric or a high-level saint can open it. So break out your Final Fantasy VII saves and see if you... I don't know if there are saints in that. But anyways, break out your role-playing game Whatever role-playing game you do, level up your saint, try to open this door, because they believe that it is sealed by magic. And unless the seal is broken, even though the door, they believe, can be opened with modern technology, i.e. dynamite, they think that opening the door without removing the magic will cause great catastrophe to the region. Like a giant Arabian Ocean emptying into the middle of India. I think it's interesting because the door has the images of snakes on it, and it had images of something else I couldn't pronounce. Again, thanks Ponral. And those images are associated in Indian mythology or Indian culture as being warning signs. I mentioned once before that there was a group of people who were trying to design a warning logo that could be interpreted 10 million years in the future. Because we want to bury all this nuclear waste in Nevada, but they don't want anyone stumbling across it, long after we're gone and opening the doors and irradiating the entire western half of the United States. So they go, what type of image can we come up with that millions of years from now people will not interpret as anything other than dangerous? A skull, a lot of times that represents religious. So if archaeologists in the future stumbled across a giant skull in the middle of the desert on a door, they may not necessarily equate that with death. For the most part, it hasn't been equated with death. For a long time in human history, skulls meant rebirth or religion. But they're saying that this is a warning, do not open this door. I think that's really interesting because who knows what's behind it? Is it more gold? Diamonds the size of an infant? Is it some magical portal to somewhere else? Is it a super weapon that was hidden there? Or is it just an empty room? We don't know. And it's funny because the Indian government is in no hurry to figure it out. So that is the story of the temple I can't pronounce. Indiana Jones and the temple I can't pronounce. What's so funny is as intriguing as the story is, it delves a lot into Indian mythology, and I just can't pronounce the words. And I'm not going to put you through that. So we're leaving India. We'll probably be back to India at some point, because they do have a lot of cool mythology. It's the language barrier. I just can't pronounce that stuff. And I don't like to give foreign places nicknames like Patahamatata Castle. We'll just call it Patty. I don't like to do that. But anyways, so we're off. Now, we're going from India and the legends involving that to Africa, modern day Africa. Now we're in the Congo. Now this is an interesting story because this just popped up in the news. They're having an Ebola outbreak again. It's not just any Ebola outbreak. This is the second biggest Ebola outbreak in history. Now, they've had them and it's been fairly restricted to villages. And they go, okay, and that's not like a good thing, not like, yay, just villages. But it could have been a lot worse. And the problem is that we might be there now. Because they have this city, it's called Butembo in the Congo, and it's a city. It has a population of over 1 million people, and Ebola has not hit a major city yet. And we're starting to see outbreaks in the suburbs and in outlying communities. Ebola, if you don't know, is incredibly contagious and has a kill rate between 50% and 90%. It can be transmitted through a drop of sweat or blood. So people riding on the subway are sweaty. You just want to stay away from them anyways, but they're like shaking their head like a dog. It's flying everywhere. It's like Beethoven, but Ebola infected. And it can take up to 9 days before you start to become symptomatic. So you can have it and spread it and not know it. And then you start pooping out blood. Basically, you liquefy from the inside out. That's what ends up killing you. You'll start to get some people get rashes, some people get bloodshot eyes, some people, it starts off with confusion and things like that, but the end result that will kill you is massive blood loss. Your organs liquefy, and then you throw up and you poop out blood until you die. It's very brutal. I've seen some photos of people dying from it. They're alive. I saw a photo of a guy sitting in the middle of a street and just blood all on the ground underneath his butt. He's laying down, he's sitting, but you just see a puddle of blood because he's pooping out blood and he's reaching out for help, and everyone else in the photo has given him like a 10-foot radius because he's dead. There's nothing you can do. And part of the problem is not only is Ebola highly contagious, but the burial rituals in the Congo and in other regions of this area They require the people to clean the body, to wash the bodies off. And if they're a very famous person, sometimes you'll lay on the body and be like, oh yeah, Elvis, such great music, let me lay on your body. Your loved ones wash your body, clean your body, things like that. I read an interesting article where the person says, imagine having a millennial-old tradition, and all of a sudden, a couple guys show up in hazmat suits